The total lunar eclipse, in which I was looking at the chart on August 12th, 2026 at around 2:00 p.m., has switched to a new polarity, the axis of Leo and Aquarius. So the total lunar eclipse, the new moon, the sun and moon conjunct on the south node, which is in fixed fire, Leo, and also the other celestial bodily energies, which is Mercury and Jupiter, are in the earlier degrees of Leo. So with the 24-month annual calendar system proposal that will take effect is going to be the solution to the unharmonious ebb and flow of commerce and the four seasons, north, south, east, and west, because it's going to equate to a 360-degree perfect circle instead of 365 days annually, which is an outmoded calendar system. So the lunar eclipse is bringing in this new calendar system, which takes place in the sign of Leo, which is supposed to rule the so-called community. Fixed fire to facilitate a communitarian type of atmosphere. So with the North Node that has entered in the sign of Aquarius, fixed air, is bringing this subconscious thought into formation, which is going to be facilitated by the South Node, which is in Leo, fixed fire, which the total lunar eclipse, the sun and moon, are conjunct with the South Node in Leo. So with the outer planets, Pluto is in retrograde, the earlier degrees of Aquarius, subconscious water, which is fixed air, thought. It is transforming the old, outdated calendar system into the proposal of the annual 24-month new calendar system, which again equates to 360 days, which is 24 months annually. So the other outer planets, Neptune, which is retrograde in the earlier degrees of Aries, which is initiation, is going back over the visualization process with Saturn, which is also retrograde in the middle degrees of Aries to initiate this proposal. So Uranus, which is in the sign of Gemini, mutable air, is making a grand trine to Libra, cardinal air, which Venus is cardinal air in the sign of Libra, trining over to Pluto retrograde fixed air in the earlier degrees of Aquarius. So this grand trine is basically switchboarding and relaying information to materialize the info and bring it into fruition, this calendar system proposal, because it's an absolute solution, logically, the air signs. So going to Mars, which is in Cancer, cardinal water, it has just entered a new phase in the sign of Cancer and is trining with the North Node, which is an exact trine to the North Node, which is in the later degrees of the sign of Aquarius, fixed air. So In geometry, it is an exact trine according to the numbers. So this is a harmonious energy that is working for this proposal to initiate Mars and cut out the old, outdated calendar system to bring in the new calendar system, Mars in Cancer, seasons, north, south, east, and west, to initiate this intuition, water, this fantasy, logical dream of harmony, to reduce traffic, the traffic jam of the so-called populace, which is just an automation. So Mercury and Jupiter, which is conjunct in the earlier degrees of the sign of Leo, fixed fire, is expanding the idea, details, and info, Mercury and Jupiter, to alchemically, which is fire, and to manifest this passion for this harmonious annual 24-month calendar system. So the other celestial bodily energies, which Chiron has stationed to go retrograde at the later degrees of Aries, which is taking all the experience gathered and summing it up to reevaluate and analyze, to continue to move forward from the sign of Aries, which is cardinal fire, to initiate this calendar system proposal and cut out the old, outmoded calendar system, and to bring into fruition, when it moves, new phase in the sign of Taurus, fixed Earth, to manifest and facilitate this new annual 24-month calendar system proposal to heal commerce and north, south, east, west, the calendar system to harmonize 360 days, 24 months annually. So again, myself as Black Moon Lilith, there's no aspects going on because I am looking at the chart. Nothing is aspecting me. So everything is to be initiated accordingly, which is based on mere time. So the other aspects going on, which the lesser aspects that are semi-sextiles, are within a 30-degree orb, which is Libra, which is at 6 degrees in the sign of the planet of Venus in the sign of Libra, which is within 30 degrees from the conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter. And it's also trining with Uranus, which is in the earlier degrees of the sign of Gemini, mutable air. So these celestial bodily energies that are making a sextile is creating a grand trine within the air signs. So the conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter, which is at the earlier degrees in fixed fire, that are sextiling with Venus in Libra, cardinal air, the earlier degrees, and sextiling over to Gemini, which is in the earlier degrees of Gemini, which Uranus is in the earlier degrees of Gemini. So with the conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter, it is basically taking all of the data, which is expanding the notion of the decisive decision of cardinal air, Venus, which is simplistic needs, and elevating it, which Jupiter expansion comes before the sign of Scorpio, fixed water, which is in regards to passion and desire, to expand what is wanted, not just needed. So the mutable air quality of Gemini, which Uranus has entered at an earlier stage degrees, is switchboarding and creating this new calendar system proposal to generate more abundance, Jupiter, to instill the info, which is Mercury that it's conjunct to, in the fixed fire sign of Leo to facilitate this. So the other aspects going on, which is basically trying to think about the astrological chart, which is just very detailed. So I'm going based on my memory from just looking at the astrological chart. This total lunar eclipse in the sign of Leo and Aquarius So the signs of Neptune retrograde and Saturn retrograde, which is at the earlier, Neptune at the earlier degrees of Aries and Saturn within the middle degrees of Aries. Saturn is making a trine over to Jupiter, which is in fixed fire Leo at the later degrees of the first decanate. And this is basically going over and analyzing to bring into manifestation the abundance factor of Jupiter to expand this idea of the new calendar system proposal, which is going to take effect. and Neptune retrograde, which is also making a trine energy because it's in the earlier stages of Aries, cardinal fire, making a trine energy over to Mercury, which is in fixed fire at the earlier degrees. So with Neptune retrograde, going back over the visualization process and not having to visualize with it being direct, is taking the dream quality and visualization process to store it in info data bank of Mercury that is moving direct in the earlier stages of Leo to conjure up this annual 24-month calendar system proposal and to facilitate it, fixed fire, so that myself, which is creator, can feel the abundance power of this world that I created, which Neptune retrograde is taking a step back to go back over all of the visualization process, to dot the I's and cross the T's, so to say, and store it in my memory bank info Mercury at the earlier degrees of Leo fixed fire, which is conjunct with Jupiter in Leo fixed fire, to expand the notion and generate more abundance for myself as creator, and initiate and bring into fruition, manifest this annual 24-month calendar system proposal, which will take effect. So that is the total lunar eclipse read, August 12th, 2026 at approximately 2 p.m. That is initiating all of my acquired thought process for this 24-month annual calendar system to take effect and cancel out the outmoded, outdated calendar system that is ineffective. Blessed be.